Everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's preview, Scotland versus France. Can Scotland do not the impossible, but the improbable? Can they topple this French team who are hurting after a pretty dominant or pretty big loss against Ireland last weekend on Friday? And Scotland were to go and beat France. They tell you what, that puts them into serious Six Nation contention. The Scotland team that played in the first half against Wales, I think could beat this French side. The Scottish team that played the second half against Wales, I think they lose to this French side because there was such a chalk and cheese, such a difference in that sort of Scotland performance last weekend. That's a bit difficult to understand and know exactly where they're going to be going into this game. Similarly, we don't really know what to expect of the French, who were just not quite at the races last weekend. Have had to make a couple of changes. Paul Willemse being banned for a number of months. Or matches rather. I personally think it should be more, but anyway, that's just what I think. But it should be a very interesting clash. They do have home ground advantage to Scotland. They will be playing at Murrayfield, and it's not an easy place to go play rugby. It's going to be cold. It's going to be wet. It's going to be a Scottish crowd that can really rally behind this side. But to be honest, with the French having to respond, I think that probably gives them the edge at the moment because, you know, France really lose 2 games in a row. And the Scottish side are going to have to be at their best if they are to get a result. Before we look at the two sides, please do smash like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel as well. We'll start with the home side, which is of course Scotland. That's the one we want to start with. Not too many changes. A bit of a rejig of the back row and a change in the second row is an unchanged backline though. So we look at the front row. It is Piers Schoeman, George Turner, and Xander Ferguson. Plenty of experience there. I think Piers Schoeman is someone who's really growing every season. He plays at international level. I think he could be on the radar of British and Irish Lions next year, to be perfectly honest. George Turner is a nice player as well, and we all know how good Xander Ferguson can be on his day. Grant Gilchrist comes into the side. He will partner Scott Cummings in that second row, an area where I feel that Scotland maybe just don't quite have the edge over too many teams. It's such an important area, you know, that engine room in that second row. But I really like the balance of this back three. Matt Ferguson shifting to the number 6 jersey. Roy Dodge coming into the side, getting the co-captaincy as well. Not a massive fan of co-captains, but he's been back there. Jack Dempsey will start at the back of the scrum. It's a solid Scottish scrum. It's obviously not quite as big and physical as the French scrum, but quite mobile. And I think they'll be looking to try and move that French pack around the park a bit. Ben White will partner Finn Russell. You all know that genuinely Scotland's chances of winning this game largely rest on the performance that Finn Russell brings on Saturday. When he's at his best and pulling the strings, you know, he can pull teams apart. That French defence, as we saw against Ireland, do look penetrable. So I do think if Finn Russell's at his best, he could really do a job. Jordan van der Merwe obviously scoring another lovely try last weekend. He's often up there as one of the best try scorers in the world, and he'll be going toe-to-toe with Dan Penno, so that should be a really fun matchup this weekend. Carl Steyn on the other wing, Carl Rowe at full back. In the centre, there will be Hugh Bellotta, Hugh Bellotta and Hugh Jones will continue that partnership. Off the bench, it will be Ewan Ashman, Alec Hepburn, Elliot Miller-Mills, Sam Skinner, Andy Christie, George Horn, and then Ben Healy and Cameron Redpath will provide the backup there. France have had to make a couple of changes. Obviously, the big one in the second row, no Paul Willemse. But apart from that, not too many big ones. A significant one, though, is Johan Mirfana dropping down to the bench to allow Louis Biabari to start, which I think is a good move. I think they lacked a bit of X factor last weekend. So if we look at the French side, in the front row, still by Piotr Mirvaka and Unai Antonio. I thought Mirvaka, after having such a phenomenal World Cup, was a little bit quiet last weekend, so I'll be expecting more from him this weekend. Cameron Walker comes into the starting lineup, and he'll partner Paul Gabriales. Obviously, no Paul Willemse, as I mentioned. An unchanged, a loose trio of Francois Croes, Charles Olivan, as well as Gregory Eldridge, who will captain the side. Maxime Luchu gets back despite maybe a bit of an ordinary performance last weekend. Mathieu Jalabert at 10. The only change in the backline, as mentioned, is Louis Biabari, who will partner Dane Pinno as the 2 wings. In the centre, Jonathan Dante and Gail Peake will continue their partnership, although I think Jonathan Dante is somebody who will want to be a bit more involved. And then Thomas Ramar at full back. Off the bench, it will be Junior Marchand, Sebastian Tuafufanawa. He comes into the side as the replacement loose head. Dorian Aldegheri continues at tight head. We then got Pasola Tuolagi, who will get a second opportunity to play for France, the massive 19-year-old monstrosity. Alexander Rumat comes into the side in the number 20 jersey. Then Paul Bourdonnais as well into the side. Nolan Legaric will be a replacement scrum off, and then Johan Mirfana will provide extra reinforcement off the bench there. So 6-2 split there for France. It should be a very good game. I'm very interested to see how this goes. It's the first game of the weekend. And I think if Scotland start well, I think there's a mental edge over here that can be had over this French side. I think they really haven't quite recovered from the World Cup And I think that if you can put them under pressure, I think there's a lot of demons that they might still have to deal with. And I think you can exploit that. But let me know what your score predictions are down in the comments below. Please do smash the like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.